right, y'all. So we have actually looked at this stuff before. This is going to be really short. Nothing really that new. Just one kind of new thing. And then y'all are going to be doing a review on your homework after you do an activity. So anyways, we are going to be talking about linear, quadratic, and exponential functions. Basically how to look at a set of information and be able to tell if it is linear, quadratic, or exponential. So yes, we have done this before. We're throwing it back in now that we have discussed all three types of functions, linear, quadratic, and exponential. So if we start with talking about linear, okay, think about everything you know about a line. Obviously your first thought is it's straight, okay? Well, why is it straight? It's straight because it has a constant rate of change. So you might want to write that, constant rate of change. Okay, so that's if you were going to look at a table, you would see that your slope is the same all the way down. Make sure you remember that slope is the change in y over the change in x. Sometimes we flip those around when we look at a table because you have to do y divided by x. So just be careful of that. Okay, when you talk about quadratic, because quadratic's going to have that x squared term in it, it's shaped like a parabola. And we kind of touched on this before. I'm going to try to explain this when we see an example here in a second. But quadratic is when the change within the change is the same. So change within the change. I'll talk again about what that means. But it's when you get the change between all of them, just like you would on linear or exponential. But if those aren't linear or exponential, then you're going to see, okay, we'll look at the change within that change. That'll make more sense here in a second. Okay, and then exponential, that's something that's growing or decreasing really quickly. So that is going to be when you're multiplying by the same amount. So multiplying or dividing by the same amount. Okay, because linear would be adding or subtracting by the same amount. Exponential is multiplying or dividing by the same amount. So what we're going to do is look at these two examples here first. And we're going to see if it is linear, quadratic, or exponential. It's easiest to check linear first, and then check exponential, and then if all else fails, we will check quadratic. These would be a lot easier to look at if they were written in a table, but I'm not going to rewrite it. So we're going to look at these y values. So from 5 to 2, what happens? It goes down 3. From 2 to 1, that goes down 1. From 1 to 2, it goes up 1. And from 2 to 5, it goes up 3. Okay, and again, I'm just looking at those y values there. Okay, so right away I can tell this is not linear. So if it was linear, these would all be going up by the same amount. Then I'm going to check exponential. Okay, well, let's look at this 1, 0, 1 right here. Okay, well, 1 times what is 2? Okay, well, 1 times 2 is 2. That means 2 times 2 would need to be 5, and it's not. So it's not exponential. That means that this is going to be quadratic. We aren't going to give you any that are none of the above. So this is quadratic. Now let me show you something. So look at, I'm going to erase this, I'm going to rewrite it. So this was minus 3, minus 1, plus 1, plus 3. Notice your y values, they started going down, and then they started going back up. If you were to graph those, you would see it was a parabola. Okay, but look at the change in these. You have negative 3, negative 1, plus 1, plus 3. Now look at the change within those numbers. From negative 3 to negative 1, that's plus 2. Negative 1 to 1 is plus 2. 1 to 3 is plus 2. So on the quadratic, when I said that the change within the change is the same, here was our original change. I have it written in green. And then the change within those was the same. So the change within the change was the same. Basically, if it's not linear or exponential, though, it's going to be quadratic. All right, I'm going to look at B. Now, I see a couple of fractions, but then I see a bunch of whole numbers. So I'm going to jump to the end of these ordered pairs to where the whole numbers are. They're a little bit easier to work with. So first I'm going to check linear. So from 1 to 2, it goes up 1. From 2 to 4, it goes up 2. All right, so right away I know it is not linear. So now let's check exponential. Okay, from 1 to 2, it's multiplied by 2. 2 to 4, it's multiplied by 2. So that means that this is exponential. Okay, I'm going to do these four with y'all really quickly, but we're just doing the same thing here. So if I look at A, from negative 1 to negative 3 to negative 1, that's plus 2. Negative 1 to 1, plus 2. 1 to 3, plus 2. So that would mean that this is linear. Okay, on B, again, since there's a decimal, I'm going to start with where I see whole numbers to make this easier. I'm going to start with linear and check that. So 1 to 4 plus 3, 4 to 16 plus 12. So that's not it. So now I'm going to check exponential. Okay, well 1 times 4 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16, which means that that is exponential. If all else failed on these, if you couldn't remember, you could always plot these points on a graph. That would just take a lot more time than this is taking right now. Okay, if I look at C, and I'm going to look at the y values. So this is down 4, down 2, 0, and then up 2. You should already really be able to tell, because this is going down and then it's going back up, that it's probably quadratic. But let's just double check. We know it's not linear. We know it's not exponential. Now if you look at the change within these changes, it's plus 2, plus 2, plus 2. Therefore, this is quadratic because the change within your change was the same. And then looking at D, negative 18 to negative 13, that's up 5. And then you have up 5, up 5, up 5, which means this is linear. Okay, so really the last thing we're going to kind of cover here, we have done this before. Before you move on, make sure you have gotten a calculator, because you are definitely going to need one for this. We're just going to do A and B here. So this says, determine which kind of model best describes the data. So we need to decide, is it linear, exponential, or quadratic? Then we are going to write an equation for the function that models the data. If we are going to write an equation for this, we are going to need to do a linear or quadratic or exponential regression. Okay, so you're going to have to know how to do this in your calculator. We have done these before a few times. Okay, so this is going to be no different. The only difference is it's going to be the number that we press. Okay, we're going to be doing 4 for linear, 5 for quadratic, 0 for exponential. Okay, so here we go. We first need to decide what this is. Okay, I could already look at this and I know it's not linear because 32 to 18, that's going down 14. 18 to 8 is going down 10. So it's not linear. I'm going to check exponential. Okay, I'm going to just look at this 8 and this 2. Okay, well 8 divided by 4 is 2. 2 divided by 4 is not 0. Okay, which means that just leaves quadratic. Okay, so here is what you need to do. Go ahead and turn your calculator on, and I want you to reset it. That way everybody's starting out on a clean slate here. So you're going to do second plus 7, 1, 2. Again, you know you can pause this at any point if you need to get a calculator or whatever. Okay, and now we need to input this table. So to do that, you're going to go to Stat. Then you're going to press Enter because you want to edit your table. And we are going to type this table in. In the L1 column, you're going to put your X's. In the L2 column, you're going to put your Y's. Go ahead and start typing those in, and I'm going to type mine in also. If you need help on how to type these in, ask somebody around you. I'll wait a little bit, make sure we all get that put in. Okay. If you don't have that put in yet, go ahead and pause it, get it all in, and then replay. But I'm going to go ahead and move on. So from here, after you get your table in, you're going to do stat again. We need to calculate the equation. So you're going to right click over to calc. Okay, now here is where this is going to be different. So we used to hit number 4 for linear regression. We've also hit 0 for exponential, but this is, we decided, quadratic. So we are going to hit number 5 for quadratic. And then this is also important. You need to go down to store. You're going to hit alpha, trace, and then enter, enter, enter. Again, if you need to go back through that again, then just rewind and watch it again. So here's what this is saying. We've got y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, that's the standard form of a quadratic. Now you're going to plug your a and your b and your c in. So you have y equals 2x squared plus, okay, now if b is 0, that means we don't have an x. And if c is 0, we don't have a c. So our equation here is y equals 2x squared. If this was on the test and it was multiple choice, you could just take this multiple choice answer, type it in your y equals, and pull up your table and check it. But for right now, you're going to have to know how to get this equation in the calculator. Okay, we're going to do the next one. So go ahead and clear. Go back to your stat. You want to edit the table again. Now here is how you clear your table. Listen very carefully. You don't ever want to hit delete here. You're going to go up to L1 or L2. You're going to have to do both. Hit clear and enter. Then you're going to go over to the other column, hit clear and enter. You have to actually go up to L1 and L2 to clear the whole thing. Okay, now we're going to input the second table. Okay, we're also going to need to check to see if this is linear, quadratic, or exponential. So let's just check that really quick. This table is going down 4, down 4, down 4, down 4. That means that this is going to be linear. Okay, so we're going to go back to stat. We're going to right click over to calc. This is now linear, which is number 4. So hit 4. You're going to go down to store. Hit alpha, trace, and then enter, enter, enter. And here's our equation. So this is now in y equals ax plus b, kind of like mx plus b. It's saying a is negative 4, b is 3. So what we have here is y equals negative 4x plus 3. And here's our equation. Right, and we're not going to do C. If you want to practice, that one is exponential. If you wanted to try to do that one on your own. All right, last thing we're going to talk about, we're going to look at these word problems, and we're going to match them up with these graphs at the bottom. So if you look at graph A, that's exponential, B is quadratic, C is linear. Okay, so here we go. Situation 1. You see 1 ant in your house on Monday. Then you see 4 ants in your house on Tuesday. You see 16 ants in your house on Wednesday. Each day there are 4 times the amount from the day before. So, are these all being added or subtracted by the same amount? No, they're all being multiplied by the same amount, which means this is exponential, which means this is graph A. Okay, situation 2. Every week you save $10. After 1 week you have $20. 2 weeks you have 30. 3 weeks you have 40, and so on. So what would this be? These are all going up by the same amount, which means this would be linear, which means this is graph C, which obviously means quadratics next, but let's look at it. Situation 3. Throw a ball straight up in the air. Notice after 1 second, the ball is 26 meters from the ground. After 2 seconds, it's 41. After 3 seconds, 46. 4 seconds, it's at 41. And after 5 seconds, it's at 26. And 6 seconds, it hits the ground. Okay, so it started on the ground, it went up all the way to 46, and then it started coming back down, which means this one is quadratic. So that is graph B. Okay, so y'all are going to be doing an activity over this. Read the directions. Now there's some parts of the activity that are blocked out, and that is because we did not do absolute value. Okay, so there's going to be 4 types of functions on there. The absolute value ones are blacked out. So you can either throw those away or you can still put them on the paper. It doesn't matter to me. Just make sure that your linear, your exponential, and your quadratic are right. As long as you turn it in and it is right, then I will give you a free 100 for that.